What's going on, people? It's your boy here, the Boxing Lowdown, and welcome to my Canelo and Caleb-Plant post-fight reaction, man. History was made last night. We had the first undisputed champion at super middleweight, and we had a first Mexican undisputed champion as well, Canelo, overcoming a difficult test for me during that fight, stopping Caleb-Plant in the 11th round. Salute to Canelo, man. He fought for a bit of adversity, in my opinion, and he got the win. So let's talk about it here today. I'm on the live stream today. I'm going to look at you guys' comments. You know what to do. As always, just feel free to jump on, leave your comments, hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And let's get this video out there, man. I've already got a comment here from my guy, BoxFans, all the way over there in the States. He's put, salute, family. Good to have you, BoxFans, on here, man. And we need to do a joint video one day. Let me know if you ever want to do that, man. But good to have you here. Salute to BoxFans, man. We've been chopping it up for quite a while on this YouTube thing, so it's good. Francisco is here in the building. He's put, good afternoon. Break it down, bro. You know I will, man. Listen, it was, yeah, we'll get onto it. We'll get onto it, Francisco. But yeah, man, we've got a new undisputed champion. Conrad Boxing is in the building. He's put good evening. So shout out to all you guys, man, always coming through. Like I said, hit the like button if you haven't already, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get cooking on it, man. So I'll give you guys my thoughts on the fight yesterday. And yeah, good fight. Good fight. I enjoyed it. It wasn't like no classic that you're going to be watching again and again over. But it was what's the word for it? It's like an absorbing fight, I should say. It was an absorbing fight for me because it was just one of those fights where Caleb-Plant was doing a lot better than many people expected. Well, according to some, because I've seen some differing scorecards on this fight. I'll tell you how I had it. Big up Punch Perfect Boxing here in the chat. Good to have you, mate. He's put good evening. Good evening to you as well, sir. I had this fight before the stoppage. I know it doesn't matter now because Canelo won, and he won emphatically. But I had the fight, Caleb-Plant. I had him a point up. And I watched it again because I saw on Twitter a lot of people there was a lot of different scorecards. There were some people like me that had the fight close, like maybe Plant a round up, maybe Canelo a round up, which I could understand as well. I had no issue with anyone that might have had Canelo up by 1 or 2 rounds. Some people had it even. Some people might have had Plant one up. I think the broadcast that I was watching on BT Sport, Richie Woodall, I think he had Plant one up, and Steve Bunce, who was on there as well, he had Plant 2 up. So it was one of those fights where, you know, rounds are subjective. They're difficult to score sometimes. And this was one of those fights for me. Maybe because Plant was doing a lot better than many people expected him to do, they might have given him the rounds in that way. But I generally thought that Plant was doing very well. He didn't have enough power to keep Canelo off him. But even though I thought Plant was doing well and I was scoring rounds for him, I did get the feeling that Canelo could catch up with him. Because, I mean, that was what I predicted anyway. I predicted a 10th round stoppage for Canelo. But so I always thought he would catch up to Plant eventually. But during the fight, I thought Plant was doing very well. He started off well, which I said he needed to do. Canelo was really just looking at his opponent. So he kind of gave the first round or so away. But then, like, Canelo was putting more pressure on Plant as the fight wore on. After round 6 in particular, it looked like that Canelo, the middle rounds, Canelo came on pretty strong. But you know, it wasn't what's the word? It wasn't like a great performance from Canelo or anything like that. Not in my opinion. Not in my opinion. I thought he had a bit of trouble. I saw Will, big up my bro Will. I don't know if he's on here. He'll be on here soon, I'm sure. But he said that this kind of reminded him of the Kovalev fight, where Kovalev was boxing pretty well. It was pretty uneventful. And then Canelo landed the punch in, I think it was round 11 as well, actually. Will is here, actually. He's literally put, yo, even in my team boxing Lowdown, brothers. I was literally just talking about you, Will. I was just saying that example that you made on Twitter today, where you said that this fight kind of reminded you of the Kovalev fight, where it was a bit uneventful. Kovalev was doing well in that fight without really putting a dent in Canelo. And then he got caught in the 11th. I thought this was sort of the same sort of thing. I thought Caleb-Plant was doing well. He had his moments, particularly in round 9. In round 9, I thought Caleb-Plant looked really good. I was like, hold on a minute. There could be an upset here. But then Canelo came on strong in the 10th, but and then obviously the 11th. But it was one of those fights for me where, you know, the rounds are subjective, difficult to score at times. I've got no issue with anyone that had Canelo 1 or 2 rounds up. I've got no issue with anyone that had it even. I've got no issue with anyone that had it like with maybe 1 point for Plant like I did, or 2 points. But some of the scorecards, man, and like, again, this doesn't matter because, like I said, Canelo won the fight conclusively. But some of the scorecards for me were just, I mean, I know it's to be expected with the Canelo. With Canelo, I mean, we've seen it before with like Mayweather, for example, and there have been other fights. Triple G, a more recent example, where he gets more of the favor from the judges. And listen, they may score for effective aggression. I thought that Canelo was aggressive, but I didn't think he was that effective with it throughout the fight. He was wearing Plant down, but it took him a while to really get going for me. I thought that Plant did very well. I thought he did very well. And like I said, 6 rounds as one judge had it. Someone had Canelo 6 rounds up. Someone else had Canelo maybe 4 or 5 rounds up. Bit too much for me. I had it 1 round for Plant. But if someone was to tell me that they had 1 round for Canelo, I would be like, yeah, that's fine, because some of those rounds were close. Some of those rounds I was thinking I might have an even round here. So there's no issue there. But it doesn't matter anyway. Let's not take away the fact that, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because Canelo did win the fight by knockout. It didn't go to the judges' scorecards. Canelo put matters into his own hands. And, when he didn't have a great performance, this is what the great fighters do. He was able to still go in there and take Canelo-Plant out. And it was a ruthless ending. Plant looked knackered, really, to be fair, at the 11th round. So you could see that it was taking a toll on him. Despite him doing okay during the fight, you could see that the pressure from Canelo was starting to tell eventually. And then it did tell. And, it was a terrific left hook from Canelo. And then that sneaky uppercut that he does. Did the same thing to Billy Joe Saunders. That uppercut's lethal, man. And Plant was really just out of it from then. When he got up, and like he stumbled into the ropes, I didn't know if he was just trying to compose himself or whether he could fall over again. But then when the fight resumed, Plant wasn't really throwing anything, and Canelo really just jumped on him, man. He jumped on Plant, and some people thought that the stoppage was a bit premature, but not for me. Plant was trying to get back to his feet, but he was done. I mean, he wasn't throwing anything back, and he wasn't. It was done. It was over. So I mean, he had no complaints either, which is something that we need to say as well. Canelo, despite not having, his greatest performance, he went out there and took care of business. He became the undisputed champion. And, history's made. He's the first, like I said, the first super middleweight undisputed champion, the first Mexican undisputed champion, I believe. And, he continues to make history, man. So where does Canelo go from here? We'll get onto that, but that was just my thoughts on it. Let me see what some of you guys are saying in the comments here, man. We've got quite a few, so let me go through them. Conrad Boxing has said here, I had Plant 6-4, but apparently one judge had it 2-8. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Conrad. I had Plant up. I think I had him 1 round up. And like I said, speaking to friends and everybody else, some people had it a draw. Some people had Canelo up 6-4. I'll take that. But yeah, the one judge that had it 2-8. But then I saw people on Twitter saying that as well. I mean, I saw Josh Taylor saying it. I saw journalists saying it. I think Dan Raphael, Doug Fisher, they had Canelo up by a lot. So very subjective. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. For me, I thought it was a lot closer than that. I didn't think Plant got enough credit for some of the work that he did, but he just wasn't able to put a dent in Canelo. We knew he's not a puncher anyway, but he was going to have to stop him in his tracks of some sorts for him to be able to, maybe get a bit more respect from Canelo. But it seems like the judges weren't having that at all. They weren't having it. Like I said, some of the opinions were different, particularly those that were ringside, like Josh Taylor. He said that from ringside, it looked totally different. And he had Canelo up wide as well. So listen, it doesn't matter because Canelo did win by knockout. I don't want to use all my energy on the scorecards and whatever, but the ending was conclusive. Canelo was the rightful winner, and he moves on to bigger and better things, man. So it'll be interesting to see what he does next. My bro, I1B in the chat, IB, he said, hey, big up, Daryl. I hope you're keeping well. I'm good on this Sunday, man. I'm very well. Arsenal won today, so I'm good. I'm good. BoxFans has said here, yes, Plant's performance was much better than I expected. IB has said here, I caught up on the last episode. Yes, Canelo tested positive, but many elite fighters in the Tyson era tested positive, including Tyson. It comes with boxing, and Canelo is a great. I don't care what anyone says. I'll leave that one for Laurie. But my opinion on it is, I think Laurie's gripe with Canelo is that a lot of people tend to kind of just give it a pass, kind of gloss over, the fact that Canelo did test positive. He does keep the same energy for fighters that test positive. I mean, I've seen it. I talk to him every day. And, he's always talking about it. But I think with Canelo, there are a lot of people that just kind of make excuses for him. A lot of people just want to associate themselves with the winning team. and like they just won't have it. You know what I mean? They'll just say, "No, this happened or whatever." But I mean, people tend to do that with their favorite fighter. But I think that with Canelo, there is a machine behind him. Like you see it with the judges, you see it with the whole drug testing issue, and I think that's what really gripes Laurie about Canelo. Because believe it or not, he does actually really rate Canelo. But I think it's just the machine behind him will kind of turn Laurie, against those that are, will back him at any cost. I mean, Laurie will be more tempted to argue against those people. So yeah, that's what I think. But I'll save that comment there for Laurie. IB. Box fans have said here the scorecards were ridiculous. Totally agree. WM said, bro, Canelo did not look good at all. If anything, he looked massively frustrated during that round 9, particularly after Plant landed those combinations. Listen, man, those combinations from Plant, that combination there, Canelo literally, he kind of turned his head. I was like, what's he doing? And he was really frustrated by that. Plant had a great 9th round, but he just, I don't know what it was, but I mean, when he got knocked down in the 11th, I'm just thinking, this is the 11th round, man. You're shattered. I would have just liked to have seen Plant try and hold and just spoil or do something. He's the bigger man. He's 6'1". Canelo's like 5'8". I know that Canelo was coming on strong, but it's easy for me to say, isn't it? But I would have just loved to have seen Plant try and hold and survive more. He had a long way to go in that round when he got knocked down, and you feared the worst, and it did happen for him. But yeah, the way how it kind of ended was pretty sudden, because I thought Plant was doing well up until that point. Like I said, I mean, he was losing the majority of the later rounds, but he had a great 9th round. So I thought maybe he's going to build on this. Maybe this is his second wind. Wasn't meant to be. Big up Terry Soot Jr. in the chat here. Good to have you here, man. Hope you're well, Terry. Francisco says here, our friend Dan Rafael scored it 9-1 for Canelo. There you go. Yeah, that's what I said. Dan Rafael had it 9-1. I think Doug Fisher might have had it something like that as well. Quite a few people. That's what I mean. So although I had it close, some people had it wide. And listen, at the time when I saw it, I was just like, this is, but I don't know. How did you guys have it? Let me know how you scored it as well. I'm curious to see what you guys think as well. But 9-1 for Canelo, man. Dan's always been a cheerleader for Canelo. Let's be honest. He always has been. So, and some of his scorecards in the past have been, the less said about that, the better. So I don't know. But I watched it again. I watched that fight again this morning, and I still had Plant 1 up. So I'm not backing down for what I'm saying. I had Plant 1 up. It was very close, very subjective. But to have anybody 8 rounds up or anything like that, it's just wrong for me. I don't see where that's the case. Not at all. That's not fair on Plant, in my opinion. WM has said here, Plant's Mayweather-esque defense stance was massively successful. He seemed to be protecting his body very well and simultaneously using his head movement brilliantly. Yeah, I think he was doing very well. And it was frustrating Canelo. But the thing with Canelo was that with him is, and again, I don't want to critique his performance too much, but with him, there were punches that were missing and the crowd were going crazy. And, that can sway the judges. That can sway opinion for those watching it on TV as well. But I thought Plant did well. But he was clearly getting caught with a lot. He was clearly getting caught with punches that were winding him down, because in that 11th round, he had nothing left. Literally had nothing left. So what Canelo may not have looked that effective to us, but it must have been pretty effective, because Plant was really, he was done really after that knockdown. Squared Circle in the building. He's put, what's up, Darryl? What's up, man? Good to have you here, Squared Circle. A. Obes has put here, undisputed, baby, for sure. Yeah, man, Canelo is undisputed champion, and I give him the full respect, man. I'm a big fan of Canelo. I do like watching him, and there are a lot of great fights to be made, Obes. I'm sure you'd agree with me on that. The question that was asked after the fight, obviously, was, who would you like to see Canelo fight next? Will he move up to light heavyweight to fight the likes of a Bivol or a Beterbiev, or will he stay at 168 and make a defense? I mean, it's going to be hard to make defense of his undisputed belts for long, but maybe with Canelo, maybe, do you know what I mean? It could be, he might get that leeway. I mean, he does hold the franchise belt as well, doesn't he? I think so. Yeah, I'd love to see Canelo go in there with a Benavidez, a Charlo, somebody like that at 168, 175. Like I said, Beterbiev or Bivol or someone along those lines. I'd love to see him against one of those 4. That would be my pick for May, because Canelo did say that he's taking a break, a well-earned break for me as well. He's one of the very few fighters out there at the elite level that are fighting however many times a year. He's fought 4 times in a year. Do you know what I mean? And you have to respect it. I know he may have, some sort of an advantage over others where he can generate the sort of money and he'll be able to fight as many times as he likes in a year. He's able to kind of dictate his own terms and stuff. So I do get that. But come on, man, we do have to respect that. You know, like not a lot of fighters are doing that. Fighters nowadays only fight once a year. And Canelo he's doing it a different way. He's recognized as the #1 pound for pound fighter in the game. And, you know, look who he's fought over the last year. Callum Smith, Avni Yildirim, we'll put an asterisk next to that one. Billy Joe Saunders, Canelo-Plant. He's active. You know, he's the biggest star in the game. It's great to see. I'd love to see more fighters do it. Like I said, it is difficult for other fighters that may not have the sort of status as Canelo to dictate the terms and fight as many times as there's like per year. But I mean, we could see him fight more than once a year, I'm sure. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think it's good. Contrast that with someone like Terence Crawford, whose last fight was back in, when was it? It was back in November against Kell Brook. November against Kell Brook. Canelo's fought 4 times since then. Do you know what I mean? So when you look at it like that, do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, you know, like they've got different promoters. Canelo is his own boss. But when you look at it in that way, it is kind of like, wow, man, Crawford's only fought once. He's fighting this month, of course. But Canelo has fought 4 times since Crawford last fought, which is crazy to me, considering how talented both of them are. BoxFans has put a stake here with I won't even get into that, but I know what he's talking about there. IA has said here, Plant put up a fight, but Mayweather got people thinking fighters can't get hit or have a competitive fight. I agree with that. O's has said here, Canelo should beat up Benavidez, should I say, next, then go to 175, then call it a career. He says it was similar to the Saunders fight. Conrad has said here, looking at what Plant did to Canelo, I think Bivol may cause him some serious trouble. I'm sure Shane will agree with you on that, Conrad. Yeah, I think he will as well. I think Bivol will cause, but it has to be at light heavyweight. It has to be at 175, like Squared Circle says here. Bivol at 175. I think that he could cause Canelo some issues. And, you know, I would like to see that. I would like to see that. I don't know if I go all the way and say that Bivol will win it, but I think he will cause him some trouble for sure. Bivol's a great fighter. He needs to be active more. His profile is just like, you know, he's just, when was his last fight? Was it against Craig Richards? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, Bivol needs to be out there more. He needs to really, you know, if he is going to fight Canelo in May, I need to see him out in the ring again before then. So that would be pretty soon, but I doubt that would be the case. My bro Stefan in the chat, what's going on, man? He's put here, what weight class will Canelo max out at? The way he's going through the weights and walking guys down is a joke at this point. Yeah. He walked down Plant, walked down Saunders, he's walking down all these bigger men. The Callum Smith one, when everyone saw the size difference between those two and the fact that Callum Smith has now moved up to light heavyweight, and you saw how Canelo just walked him down, pretty much beat him up every round. I thought, yeah, I wasn't really impressed with that performance from Callum Smith, but Canelo's just walking through all these guys, man. I don't know if he can do that at light heavyweight. I mean, he did walk down Kovalev, but Kovalev wasn't the same Kovalev as he previously was. Could he do that to Bivol? Could he do that to Beterbiev? I don't know. If he is able to do that against those two guys, then I don't know. You would say light heavyweight would be the limit. Surely he can't go up another weight to cruiserweight. That's too far. That is too far. But people have spoke about it. They were speaking about it in the BT studios. Carl Frampton was talking about a Bradis fight with Canelo. It's crazy to think that, you know, he can go up there and continue to move up the weights and be this strong and walk down these bigger guys the way how he is. He's only, what, 5'7", 5'8", Canelo? And he's walking down these huge guys, man. I mean, even Canelo-Plant, he's not a huge puncher, but he was a lot bigger than Canelo, and Canelo just walked him down. So, I don't know. To answer your question, Stefan, I think that light heavyweight surely has to be the limit for Canelo, where he can maxes out at. He can't go up to cruiserweight. Forget about heavyweight or bridgerweight or anything like that. But light heavyweight for me has got to be the limit. It has to be. If not, then I'm going to talk to Laurie about that because something's not right. WM has said here, fight Makabu for the cruiserweight titles. Yeah, so, you know, the people are talking about cruiserweight as well. It's crazy. Obza says here, Beterbiev is one of my favorites, but he's 36. Bivol is a tough fight for Canelo. Sounds like you guys are really rating Bivol for Canelo next. Will be interesting. Canelo did talk up Beterbiev, but he is 36, yeah, maybe even 37, you know, Beterbiev. He could even be 37 now. I'm not sure, but he is getting on a bit, and he has shown a bit of vulnerability as well. You know, he didn't look great in his last fight, Beterbiev. He has been dropped before. as good as he is, maybe Canelo might see an opening in that fight. Maybe that's why he was mentioning his name before this fight against Caleb-Plant. IA said here, Holyfield was the last multi-weight undisputed champion. Unifying 175 could make him the Mexican GOAT. I saw people saying that yesterday. Obes was saying Bivol is a mover and he's at 175, so Canelo ain't going to break him down so easy, and he has power. That's a good fight, Bivol. That is a good fight. I remember they were talking about, that's if it is at 175. If it's at 175, if they're talking about a catch weight like they were doing before, then, that only just takes away Bivol's chances for me. It's got to be at 175 for Bivol, but I could just see him bending over and just taking the fight at 168 or 170, some sort of catch weight. I could see him doing that. I could see Bivol doing that, man, because he's never going to see that sort of money again. Canelo can dictate the terms. He's going to have all the advantages he can. So I could see Canelo making that fight at a catch weight, and, that would only weaken Bivol's chances for me. Stefan here has said here, Bivol has the skill set to beat Canelo, but the fact that he would be reliant on fair judging makes my interest in that fight decrease massively. Beterbiev far more interesting. Francisco says here, Plant was great, better legs than I thought, but part of it was because Canelo didn't come to box. He was power punching, and like you said, we knew he would eventually get the KO. And you did say that, Francisco, in the last stream. You did say that, Canelo is not going to need the judges. He's just going to look for the knockout. He's not going to make it pretty. And that's pretty much what he did. I mean, in the post-fight interview, Canelo said that, the fight went to as he planned it to go. Naturally, fighters are going to say that it went accordingly. But I don't know, because in the corner there, I don't speak Spanish, but, they were telling us on BT that Eddie Reynoso was having a go at Canelo in one of those later rounds and telling him he needs to step it up a bit. And then in the next round, he did. I think it was after the 9th round, actually, when Caleb-Plant had a very good round. Eddie Reynoso was getting on to Canelo, and then he stepped it up a bit, and he had a good 10th round. Canelo did after that. So Canelo, yeah, he knows he's not going to go there and try and box with Plant. He's got to put the pressure on him, and that's what he did, really. But I saw that Plant, he did have some success there. I can't remember what the final punch stats were for this fight, but I remember going into the later rounds, they were pretty close. I think Canelo might have outlanded Plant by like a few at the time, not too much, but yeah, I haven't seen the final punch stats yet, but Plant was landing, you know what I mean? And Canelo was missing a lot. But at the end of the day, like I said, it doesn't matter because we got the ending. It was a conclusive ending. But Plant did well, and he can come back from this loss as well. There's the fight with Benavidez. I mean, them two, there's no love lost between those two guys. If Benavidez was not to get the Canelo fight, then Plant could probably go for him. That would be a big fight. It should be easy to make as well, as both of them are on the PBC. So I'd love to see that fight. Maybe Plant might want to have 1 or 2 fights to get his legs back under him. But, it was a bad loss for him. He did get knocked out. But, the Benavidez fight is something that we could look forward to. There are other fights there at super middleweight as well for Caleb-Plant. And he could become a world champion again, particularly if the belts do get fractured, which they will eventually. Canelo won't be holding on to all of those belts for too long. Or, well, I say that, but you never know with him. But, yeah, I could see Plant getting a world title again. I thought that, nothing to be ashamed of, losing to the best fighter in the world, put up a great performance, put up a great effort, got career, you got, high career person. I think it was 10 million they reported. So, there's a lot for Plant to be happy about. And, the defeat will obviously hurt him for now. But, when he looks back on it, he didn't disgrace himself at all against Canelo. So, yeah, there's still a lot to come from Caleb-Plant. I think he's, 29 years old? So he's still got time in the game. And I thought he did very well, Caleb-Plant. My boy Francisco said here, Plant was great. Oh, no, we read that one already. Sorry, my bad. Obes has said here, I have Usyk number 1 and Canelo number 2 pound for pound, but I'm considering switching them around. Yeah, subjective. It's subjective, the pound for pound lists. You rank them how you rank them. But, Usyk number 1, Canelo number 2. I think many would agree that those are the top 2 right now, Usyk and Canelo. For me, Crawford's got to be up there as well. Yeah, Inoue's got to be up there. But, I'd say the top 2 are definitely those 2. Whichever way you have them, you can't really argue too much, can you? I mean, most people have Canelo at number 1, I think. But, you look at what Usyk's done. Do you know what I mean? You could have him at number 1 too. Either one of them is fine with me. I'm going to have to do a pound for pound. I ain't done one in a while. But yeah, I'll probably do one as well. But those two would definitely be my two as well. Obes has said here, cruisers are 6'1" minimum and they're cutting from heavy. That's never going to happen. Stefan does agree. He says Bradis would destroy Canelo surely. He regularly spars with Frank Sanchez, but the whole thing is suspect to say the least. None of you guys are fancying Canelo's chances at cruiserweight. I'm not either, to be fair. Mohamed Zishan has said here, Makabu would beat Canelo at cruiserweight. Cruiserweight's too far. It's too far. Like Obe said here, 6'1" minimum and they're cutting from heavy. And Canelo-Plant is 6 foot, 6'1". He towered over Canelo, but these guys are going to be a lot more thicker, stronger. Canelo's not going to be able to walk them guys down, surely. If he is, then something's wrong. If he moved up to cruiserweight and he's walking down cruiserweights, something's not right. I'm saying that now. Obes has said here, I forgot about Makabu. I think he's under 6 foot, but he's huge. Yeah, he's massive. Stefan says here, I've never been a fan of pound-for-pound ratings. It's so subjective. But based on resume, Canelo is clearly the best. If it's based on who I think is the best boxer in the world, that's still a new way for me. And yeah, like you said there, Stefan, it's subjective. Because what do you use as your criteria for ranking a pound-for-pound list? Some people rank it based on resume. Other people rank it on who they think is the best fighter, has got the best skill set. Some people rank it on, who might be the fighter that you feel is, the most difficult to beat. So there's a lot of criteria for ranking pound-for-pound lists. Very, very subjective. Very subjective. But everyone's going to have their own opinion on it. But if you were to ask me who the top two were, I'd say Usyk and Canelo, because I do base it on resume as well. I think resume is a strong point to base your pound-for-pound lists on. If we were to do it on potential and that sort of thing, then you could have all sorts of fighters on a pound-for-pound list. So, yeah, resume does play a big part for me. But I'm not a massive fan of them either. I don't mind them, but I don't think it's the be-all and end-all, man. I'd rather have Undisputed and have a person clean out their weight class rather than talk about who's undisputed, who's pound-for-pound, sorry. Because if you think about it, let's look at Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, for example. And I'm diverting a little bit, but I'll come back to Canelo. Both of them are at welterweight. If you were to ask who the better welterweight was in terms of resume, you would go for Errol Spence, wouldn't you? But if you look at the pound-for-pound list, if you were to ask who's higher in the pound-for-pound list between Crawford and Errol Spence, more people would pick Crawford than Spence. So, it's just, I'd rather just see them fight and get it on and let us know that way rather than, us just debating for however long and the two guys never fight each other. Obes has said here, I hear you, Stefan, but Usyk fought killers on his way. Yeah, he did. Francisco says here, 175 would be interesting, but nobody at 160 or 168 can beat Canelo, yet there are big fights. Benavidez, Charlo, Andrade, they need to happen. Yeah, all of those guys, but like you, I'd have Canelo as the favorite over all of them. I think Benavidez gives Canelo a good fight. Charlo has the potential to give Canelo a very good fight, but I'd still pick Canelo over all of them. I'll still pick Canelo to beat all of them, but they're still big fights. They're still good fights, and we never know when Father Time can catch up with you. Canelo's had a long career. I mean, he's been fighting since he was 15, 16 years old, and he's 31 now. So how much longer is he going to be able to really, how much longer is he going to be in his prime for? I mean, yesterday I did see some vulnerabilities. I didn't see Canelo as, invincible last night. I didn't see him as a unbeatable fighter that nobody could get near. But the issue is that you're not going to knock out. It's going to be very difficult to knock out Canelo. Never seen him hurt, only once in his career when he was literally like a teenager or in his early 20s. Since then, he's just got a granite chin. Even Triple G didn't move him like that. So how are these guys going to beat him? Because it's going to be very difficult to win a points decision over Canelo. We've seen that. So how do you beat him? You're going to have to drop him a lot of times and hurt him, wobble him, and it's going to be hard to do. So, yeah, those guys, all great fights, all big fights. But in terms of whether they'll beat Canelo, I don't think so. I don't think anyone at 160 or 168 beats Canelo. The real danger will be at 175. Francisco says here, good points on the pound for pound by Stefan and Obes. I still think Crawford is the best. There you go. Laurie also thinks Crawford is the best. I've got Crawford up there very high as well. He's a former undisputed champion as well. But like I said, if we're basing it on resume, like I said, Canelo has fought 4 times since Crawford last fought. And I know it's different, like I said earlier, but, it's just, we need to see Crawford more, man. And it's a shame because I don't think it's his fault. I'd love to see Crawford out there, but on pure talent and ability, man, Crawford he's right up there as well, right up there, man. And I don't argue with you having him number one either. I hope said it. Imagine Canelo walking down a Coley. It's true. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. But what next for Canelo? Let's hope that it is one of those 4 fighters: Canelo, Benavidez, Charlo, Benavidez, Beterbiev, or Bivol. To Canelo's credit, he seems to want those guys. He's not ducking any challenge. I've seen some people say Triple G, but I don't want to see the Triple G trilogy. I haven't really been on for that fight at all. I've seen 2 of those fights already. I'm not really interested in a third one. It's got to be one of those 4 for me. Hopefully we do get it. And when you look at their schedules, I know Benavidez is fighting next week. Or is it? Yeah, next week he's fighting. And Charlo, he hasn't got anything booked in. Beterbiev, he's got a fight coming up against Marcus Brown. And I don't know what Bivol's doing. So, listen, if they're going to be available for May, it could happen. Do you know what I mean? They'll make themselves available for that. So, let's hope it is against one of those 4. But, yeah, Canelo, man, like, he cemented his legacy. He was fantastic again. Like I said, he did show some vulnerabilities to me. Didn't look completely unbeatable, but let's give him the respect he deserves, man. He was able to knock Canelo-Plant out. You know, that was the first time Canelo-Plant has been down in his career. And you have to give Canelo credit, man. Also, it should be said, with the fact that Canelo has fought this amount of times in a year, maybe he had a below par performance in him. Do you know what I mean? We should consider that as well. And Canelo actually said he needs to rest. He needs to take some time out and rest. And I think that's a good idea. You know, he is 31. You can't keep going hard like he has been doing. And, you know, a nice few months out now. May will come in a few months' time. And it'll be interesting to see who he fights next. Some more comments here. Timothy says here, Canelo started so early that when opponents still working out his theory, he is bilaterally stroke training, old school. Stefan says here, put some respect on my boy Zach Parker's name, Canelo at Pride Park. Listen, Zach Parker's no joke. I thought he looked very good, man. And I saw some funny tweets about Canelo ducking Zach Parker. Zach Parker looks good. He looks good, man. And, you know, I'm a fan of him. I'm a fan of Zach Parker for sure. And listen, if we could get Canelo over here, he did say he wanted to fight in the UK. So, boy, you never know. You never know, man. Let's just see what happens. But for me, yeah, one of those 4, it's got to be. And I hope that he does fight one of them. But Canelo, like I said, he didn't look his best, but he got the victory. Obes has said here, the Charlo twins were drunk at the fight last night. That's the difference. Canelo lives by no boxing, no life. Yeah, I saw Errol Spence interview actually on Fight Hub. I didn't see the Charlos on there. I have to check that out. But it doesn't surprise me with you telling me that they're drunk. That's what they always do. You know, yeah, this is why they're not going to beat Canelo. They won't beat Canelo. I can't see Jamal Charlo doing it. I think that he's very good. He's got the ability to give him problems as well. But, you know, that sort of thing there that you've just highlighted, the fact that he's drunk and he's just going to these events, he's not totally living a life outside of the ring. I mean, you don't really put on a lot of weight or anything like that. But the fact that you are drunk, and I'm not saying you can't have a good time, of course, but there's the difference between Canelo and Charlo. And that would ultimately be the difference if they were to fight as well. One fighter's more dedicated. And when you've got that sort of talent mixed in with that dedication as well, it's going to be very difficult to beat. And Canelo has got both of them in abundance. Stefan says here, Marcus Morrison to Canelo is a slight jump. Yeah, just a little bit of a jump, mate. Just a little bit of a jump there. Listen, Zach Parker looked very good, man. I watched that fight. And, you know, those body shots were ripping Morrison in half, man. They were very good. And, yeah, I'd like to see where Zach Parker goes from here. But he looks good. He does look very good, man. Listen, anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap that up for today. Just a quick post-fight reaction from me. We'll be chopping it up a bit more on Thursday. Obviously, you guys will get Laurie's opinion as well on this. I'm sure you guys are going to be looking forward to that. But, yeah, just my quick thoughts, man. Just thought I'd kind of dump them here in this live show today. And, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments, man, who you'd like to see Canelo fight next, what you thought of the performance, and I'll get back at you guys. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'm just going to chill now, probably watch a bit of NBA maybe, and wind down before work tomorrow, man. So big up to everybody, and I'll catch up with you guys soon, man. Have a good evening.